Welcome back to the Where You're Planted podcast. Happy Wednesday or whatever day you're listening to this. It's Friday for me, so happy Friday if you're listening to this on a Friday. So excited to be back per usual. I have a guest with me today that is so awesome for being willing to talk about this topic. It's something that I think there's a lot of differing views on, especially in the Christian community. And I think it's really important to talk about, not just because it's touchy, but it's something that's actually been occurring since the very beginning of time. The first mention of it is actually in the first book in the Bible. So this is something that women have been struggling with for a long time and that God has been using to help people see that they can trust him, help people just learn to lean on him more and to just accept that he is going to fulfill his promises, but on his timing. So today I have the amazing Kiera Bright, Las Vegas makeup girl, whatever you know her as. Hi, Kiera.
Hi.
I'm so thankful, like I said, that you're coming on to talk about this. A lot of people know you around Vegas. And I mean, you're popular on Instagram too.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not too much,
For
a
what
little
she
bit.
does to our faces, I mean, she's my makeup artist. So people know you. You are so upbeat, full of life. You
I
breathe,
really try.
you breathe life into people. And I mean, you're wearing rainbows today.
Yes.
That's just who you are as a person. But I know this topic is something that is anything most of the time, but light
Rainbows.
and fluffy
Yeah.
and rainbows. So
Yeah.
I deeply appreciate it. I know that it's just such a sensitive and vulnerable topic,
And
but
I'm already like ready to cry.
you're allowed to cry on this podcast whenever you want. I haven't yet, but I think today might be the day. But this story does have a happy ending.
It does. The best.
We have a photo of your beautiful family from a couple years ago now, I
Yeah.
think.
I think I don't think it was this past Christmas. I think it was the one before last.
Yeah. Again, in
I don't
rainbows.
know. She's so little, you know?
She's
Like-
still little.
Yeah, she is.
She doesn't I don't have any good idea of what babies are supposed to
I know.
look like, but she's tiny.
She is so little. My friend, she has a daughter that's 1 year younger than her and wearing like double size clothes than Dream is. I'm like, well, that's fine.
I think my 15-month-old niece is bigger than her.
Yeah, I know. She's so little. She runs around so much. Like, she got so much energy.
She's
runs it all
so
off.
cute. But the journey to having her was not easy.
Not at all.
And we are going to dive into that. Like I said, Kiera is my friend, and she is an incredible makeup artist. But this story is something that has been inspiring me since before I even became friends with you.
Which is just amazing to me. Like, it's so beautiful when I hear stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crazy because we shared a couple gyms at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember when there was like a GoFundMe or something that went up to help you pay
Yeah.
for IVF.
Did you donate?
And I donated.
You own part of Dream? I did not know that.
Yeah, just because I had been following this story and I was like, so when you got pregnant, I think I cried. I think I cried. And I didn't even know you. I just knew you from class.
I can't believe we've been friends this long and you've never told me that you donated.
I thought I did.
No.
Yeah. No, don't cry. It's too soon.
Okay, it's
too soon.
Yeah.
So like we said, this journey to this happy ending has not been easy. And a lot of people, the journey is infertility and they can't get pregnant. But for you, that was not
Correct.
the case, at least initially.
Yeah.
And
I
so can you kind of tell that story of the beginning of when you and your husband started trying to have a kid? And then you can lead up to when you decided to do IVF and then how you got to Dream.
Okay. So our first pregnancy was in 2013. We actually weren't trying, but we got pregnant, and I remember just being like so scared. I was just like, what? Like, I was like just doing so well in my business and just really was not prepared to become a mother. And I remember my mom being like, yay, oh my God, congratulations. I was like, girl, what? Like, what are you talking about? So after it settled in for, like, I think I told him on his birthday, and I remember telling him, I had written him a card, and I was like, you're going to be a dad. And he was like, I don't understand. Like, he was quiet for like a day. Like, it really took some time to settle in. But once it settled in, I was really excited. So I immediately announced my pregnancy because I was very naive.
Yeah.
So I immediately announced, and I'll say, oh yeah, I remember what happened now. Okay. So we were not married at the time, and I didn't have insurance. So I went to like the Secretary of State so that we could become domestic partners. And I got stuck on an elevator, which is like my second all-time highest fear. My first one is like plane crashes. Second one, being stuck in an elevator. So I was by myself. Had a panic attack. I called my mom, and she's like, "Kiera, you have to calm down. The baby, the baby, the baby." I indeed did not calm down. And then that night, I was stuck in the elevator for about an hour and 15 minutes. And that night, I miscarried when I got home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was really obviously taken aback. I was heartbroken, like, because I just didn't know really much about miscarriages or anything at that point. So the first thing was that I had already announced it, but later in life, this all made sense. So I had already announced it. So I'm like, okay, now I have to unannounce it, which sucks because it was like right around Mother's Day, and I didn't want people coming and telling me Happy Mother's Day because it was going to hurt more. So I just like, okay, I went back on Facebook, and by announcing, I meant like on the World Wide Web. Like I told everyone.
Yeah.
So I went back on Facebook and told them what happened. And I didn't really have a following at this point, just like, family and friends. So right after that happened, I was like, what it let me know was that I really wanted to be a mom.
Yeah,
and
I was just going to ask that. Did that kind of spur the...
Oh, absolutely.
The heartbreak probably didn't match your initial reaction.
Correct.
You're like, this hurts.
Correct. But once I was starting to heal, I was like, wait, I do want to be a mom. Like, I'm at a good age. Like, my career's at a good place. I've been in a stable relationship for 8 years. Like, I need to figure this out. But my husband was like, let's kind of wait. So anyway, then he proposed maybe like, I don't know. That was in April 2013. He proposed in July 2013. Then we got married the following
So did that
October.
make you guys closer?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was really like shocked because he, went through the like not being prepared and then losing the baby. So he just really didn't know, especially because I lost it in like such a traumatic way, which we'll come to learn that's just how it always goes for me. So, so once we got married, I was like, okay, time to try for a baby. And he was like, wait. And I was like, no. Like, this is what needs to happen. And he just like, again, wasn't ready, just didn't feel like we were at the right place financially. So I kind of did a little bit of like manipulating.
I love the honesty.
Yeah, I did. He didn't feel like we were at the right place financially. So I was like, what can I do to make him feel like we are financially stable as I felt like we were? So I bought him a car.
I'm dead.
Yeah, this is a true story.
That's
y'all.
not like I think if we talk about manipulation, that's probably the best form.
Yeah.
Like he got a car out of it.
Yeah, I was like, he really likes cars, and that'll make him happy, and he'll give me a baby. Like, so it's interesting because like I was not trying to play God, but I was really trying to make things happen the way that I
on
wanted
your
them
timing.
to. Correct.
Yeah.
So we got pregnant right away, right after the car. And again, really excited. I think I had bought him like a little pair of baby Vans to announce it to him. He was super shocked again, but still excited. So we really got into it. And then I was going to the doctor, to see how far along I was. And every time I went to the doctor, they couldn't see the baby. They were like, oh, maybe you're just too early.
But
and
they knew that you were still pregnant. So
Correct.
It wasn't that you had miscarried.
Correct. I was pregnant. Like
Yeah.
I had rising HCG levels, which your HCG levels are supposed to double every 2 days.
Okay.
So when they double, it insinuates a healthy pregnancy, which is not always the case, but it's a good sign before you can like see the baby, hear a heartbeat, all those things. So my HCG was rising, but they still couldn't see the baby. So I had started to feel like pain in my lower left side, and Google, you just get on Google like, oh, what's this? And I would see all these different things that it would say, but a lot of times, everything that's like a sign of a loss or a miscarriage or anything resulting in a baby not being born can also be a sign of pregnancy. So
Okay,
everything's like
that's
really,
confusing.
it's extremely confusing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you might have pain right here because of the baby, or you might have pain right here because you're having an ectopic pregnancy. So I saw this word ectopic pregnancy, but I had never heard of it before. And I like, it definitely like, I kind of was like, but I still didn't really think anything. So I went to the doctor one more time. I think I was around like 7 or 8 weeks. And I remember the lady turned the screen and she started typing on the screen. Like I was like, oh, can you see the baby? And she's like, mm-hmm. But she started typing on the screen. And I just, something just didn't seem right.
Right.
So
you can tell when you're at the doctor when the tone
like,
changes.
The doctor's gonna come in and see you soon.
Yeah.
So then someone else came in, like the actual doctor came in, and they told me that it was an ectopic pregnancy, and I was like, okay, like so like put the baby where she needs to be, or the baby needs to be, and
Fix
they're like,
it.
yeah, like just put the baby in my uterus. They're like, no, that's not really how it works. Like the baby, so an ectopic pregnancy is when the baby is stuck in your fallopian tube. So basically, the egg and the embryo didn't make its way to the uterus and latch to the wall where a baby is supposed to grow. It like got stuck in the middle. And there's like a lot of different causes. I didn't have any of what the causes you read about or you hear about or a doctor tells you about. I didn't have any of them. So it was really confusing to me how it was happening. It's less than 2% of pregnancies result in ectopic pregnancies.
Wow.
So they told me that.
That's a crazy stat. Sorry to interrupt.
It's insane.
Because I know multiple people that have had one. And so even though it's 2%, I mean, I guess when you think about the amount of pregnancies, it's still a lot of people. So it's still something I think women need to be aware of.
Absolutely. And it was shocking to me because I had never heard of it.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, this is extremely dangerous. Basically, the baby keeps growing in your tube and your tube can burst and you can internally bleed and die.
Oh my God.
So they were like, we can't move it. This pregnancy has to be terminated. We can give you a drug, like a shot that will dissolve the baby was the term that they used. And I was just like, okay. So the shot is called methotrexate, I think. And it's a form of chemotherapy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is aggressive.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you probably don't know all of this stuff that actually happened. So they gave me the shot, and I was not allowed to get pregnant for 6 months after that because it's a form of chemotherapy. So if you get pregnant during that time, like your baby can be born with like defects and stuff like that. So they gave me the drug, and it did not work. So
oh my gosh.
I was supposed to like fly out of town for a wedding. I had a bridal party of like 10 people in Michigan. I had to cancel it because they said I needed to be around a hospital just in case something went wrong. My brother was getting married. I had to miss his wedding. It was really, really tragic. So anyway, my best friend flew here just to be with me during the time, and we went out to eat, and we came back home, and I was walking up the stairs, and I passed out. So they took me to the hospital, and they said that my tube did not burst yet, but it was in the process. So they said I had to have emergency surgery to remove my tube. So they did the emergency surgery. I was really scared, obviously.
So if they remove your tube, what does that mean for future pregnancies?
That meant that I only had one tube left.
Okay.
So that I learned so much because I knew none of this stuff.
I'm learning so much right now.
So I only had one tube left, which meant that I could only get pregnant. I could still get pregnant naturally, but only every other month, because when you ovulate, it switches sides every month, but you don't know which side it's on. So like it's a game, you know? So I was like, okay, all right, at least I could still get pregnant. Like, cool. Big Daddy was not like that.
She calls her husband Big Daddy
that's
for
Big Daddy.
anybody that's wondering who the heck Big Daddy is.
He was not like that. He was very much like, why would we do something that could possibly kill you? And I was like...
And I think that's a normal response for a spouse.
Correct.
Like, he needs you. If he doesn't have you, what is the point of having a child?
Me, I did not feel that way, though. I was like, what are the chances that that would happen to
So
me
at
again?
this point, you're like convicted. I want to be a mom. I'm supposed to be a mom. I'm not going to let this stop me.
Yeah, I was like, there's nothing that's going to stand in my way. I was like, I mean, yeah, we had a bump in the road, but like, I didn't die, so we're cool, right? Like, and he was like, no. So we separated because I was very much like, if you're not here for this,
Yeah.
then I don't know what to tell you. So we separated for a year. It was the craziest time of life. We got back together. So that was the beginning of 2016. We separated around May 2016. We got back together around February 2017. So when
This is when I started overlapping gyms with you.
okay.
So this is
Around
when
the X cycle time.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So when we got back together, I was very much like, hey, still need to have kids. Like, so if you want that, then we can do this together. And he's like, whatever you want. Like, we can have as many babies as you want to. I'm like, okay, cool. So we spent some time like rebuilding our marriage. And we get pregnant 6 months later. So, well, yeah, something like that. We get pregnant in March of 2018. That doesn't sound like 6 months, but whatever. So we get
The math adds up
right
somehow.
So we get pregnant March of 2018, and I am thrilled. Okay, I'm like, I knew I could still get pregnant. Like, I went on like, I was eating like a super clean diet. I was going to Raw Fitness, and I told them what my goals were. They put me on this super clean diet, and then I got pregnant just like that. So I was.
So that would make you believe this is going to be a healthy pregnancy.
Absolutely.
I'm healthy. This is meant to be. God gifted us with this again.
Again, yes. I'm like, okay, here we go. He's more on board. Like, we're really excited. And again, every time we got pregnant, we announced it. So every time we got pregnant, we had to unannounce it. So at this point, my following's starting to grow, and everyone's like getting a little more attached to this
Invested,
story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even
so,
I was. Remember, I
exactly.
didn't really know you. I just
so crazy.
followed you, I think, and would go to the gym. And then I think I remember this when you got pregnant.
This time.
Well, did you announce time 3?
I announced every time.
Okay.
Because every time I might have waited a little bit longer.
I
but
just remember more than when you ended up in the hospital again.
Correct.
Which.
Right. Okay. So pregnant, everything seems fine. A week later, I start bleeding. So I'm like, okay, I'm having a miscarriage, I believe, I thought. I don't know why I thought it was that at that point. But I was just very happy to be that I could still get pregnant naturally. I was like, listen, as long as I don't have another ectopic, I'm cool, right?
Yeah.
So I bled for a week, and then it stopped. Then I was still showing up pregnant on pregnancy tests like a week after that. And I was like, that's weird. So then I went to one of those 3D ultrasound places because my husband had just switched jobs. So again, I didn't have insurance again. So I went to one of those 3D ultrasound places. I called them. I was like, hey, I have a history of ectopic pregnancy, and I just want to make sure that that's not what's going on right now. Like, can you tell me that? And they were like, yeah, we can tell you that. So a friend of mine and myself, we went, and they looked on the ultrasound screen, and they were like, there's no baby in there. I was like, you sure there's nothing in my tube? They're like, nope. I'm like, why am I still showing up pregnant on pregnancy tests? They're like, because there's probably just still some remaining like stuff from your miscarriage. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Going about my business. I'm feeling great. I'm not in any pain or anything like that.
You still felt hopeful, even though they are saying you miscarried?
By great, I meant I physically felt great.
Okay.
But I did still feel hopeful. Yes, I did. So I go start back working out at X Cycle, and that whole week I was just like really tired. And the day that everything happened, I left class, and one of my friends was like, you don't look like yourself. I was like, I don't feel like myself. Like, I don't feel good. And it was like a day or two after. It was April 18th, 2018. So it was 2 days after Big Daddy's birthday. So I left the gym. I had some clients that I needed to go to, and I was driving home, and I got like this really sharp pain. And I was like, okay, let me pull over. And I pulled over to like a random McDonald's, and I go to the bathroom and I wake up on the floor of the bathroom in McDonald's.
Oh my
and I'm
gosh.
like, okay. So I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, something's wrong. Like I think I may have passed out, but I don't know. So she tells me to call 911. They come and they take my blood pressure, and my blood pressure is great. And I'm like, am I okay? And they're like, yeah, you're fine. Like,
So now this is the second person that's telling you you're fine. Oh my gosh.
they're like, yeah, you're fine. Like, if something was wrong with you, your blood pressure wouldn't be so great. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, listen, I have a history of ectopic pregnancy. So, like, just need to make sure I'm good. So they're like, no, you just need to go to your gynecologist and get things checked out later. But if you go to an emergency room right now, you're just going to sit there for a long time for nothing. So I'm like, okay. So I go home. My mom and my sister come with me. And I'm like, I'm going to get ready for my clients. And I sit on the couch. And then the next thing I know, my mom's screaming. And she's like, Kiera, like, what's going on? You just passed out. And I'm like, no, I didn't. This is the way the story's being retold to me.
Right.
So she's like, yeah, you just fell back on the couch and your eyes started rolling in the back of your head.
Oh
and I'm
my
like,
gosh.
no, Mom, I'm fine. And then,
And if you passed out, you probably think no time passed.
Correct.
You just kind of like close your eyes for a sec.
yeah, I'm like, okay. So then I guess I wake up again and she's like, you just did it again. Like, no, call 911. You're going back to the hospital. So then another set of, what are they called? Medics, I don't know, come. And they are like, girl, your lips are blue. Your face is gray. You need to go. This is like 20, 30 minutes after the first set of people have seen me. So they're like, you need to go to the hospital. Like, something's wrong. So I call Big Daddy. I'm like, I don't know. I'm literally on a stretcher and they're wheeling me out. And I'm going to Centennial Hills Hospital. I think you should probably get there. So we get to the hospital and they're like, are you pregnant? I'm like, no, I had a miscarriage a couple weeks ago, but I'm not pregnant. They're like, well, you need to take a pregnancy test. I'm like, I'm not pregnant. There's no reason to.
Yeah.
So they tell me to go to the bathroom and take a pregnancy test, and I pass out on the floor. And they have to get me up and put me back on a stretcher. It was just so crazy. So they put me back on a stretcher, take me back, blah, blah, blah. I start like passing out more. And then they take me into the other room, and then they do an ultrasound. Then they bring the doctor in, and like, you're still pregnant. You're 10 weeks pregnant, and your tube bursted. And
so what didn't happen the first time or they tried to not have it happen the first time.
What almost happened the first time happened the second time, but without any symptoms that I had from the first time. So they're like, you're internally bleeding. You have to have emergency surgery or you're going to die. So I was really angry. I started screaming, and then I passed out again, and I guess I was like foaming at the mouth. And when I woke up this time, like, there's like tons of doctors, my pastor's there, like all types of stuff is going on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they're like, we have to get her into surgery. We have to get her into surgery. Then I lost my hearing, I recall my husband saying. He said that I told them that I couldn't hear anything, and they were like, you have to get her now, because I guess when you are about to die, you start losing some of your senses.
Oh my gosh.
So they wheeled me back. They cut me out of all my clothes, and I lost 3 liters of blood. I had to have a blood transfusion, and when I woke up, they were like, you don't have any more tubes, so you cannot have kids naturally.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was like, they're like, but you can still do IVF. I was like, oh, I guess I'll just write a check for that. Like, so I was really, I was really low after that.
Let's pause real quick, because this was supposed to be about Dream, and it is.
Yeah.
But like, you are a miracle.
Yeah.
Like, Dream is a miracle, but you are a miracle.
Yeah.
Like, you were saved. And man, I mean, I didn't even know all that. I knew a lot of it, but I didn't know the extent of like what happened each time.
Yeah, it was wild.
And most people would give up at that moment, or say this is a sign that
that I'm not supposed to have.
I'm not supposed to be pregnant. And I think that's one of the harder things in life, is deciphering between, is this resistance the enemy, or is this God trying to tell me this is not for me? Because I have that a lot. And the more time you spend with God, the easier it gets to discern those voices and that feeling. And I think I'm getting better at that, where I can say, like, I know this is strategically attacks from the enemy and trying to make me not believe this is for me, versus when God is like, no, I'm intentionally.
That's how I felt at first.
You felt the former, that it was the enemy, or that it was God?
Yeah, that it was the enemy. Like, I was like, okay. Like, each time I lost a baby, I would, at first, I would be like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to. Maybe I'm not supposed to with my husband. I even really went that low with it. Like, maybe we're not supposed to procreate.
Right. Like, this is a preventative measure God's doing to
keep us not together. Like, I was all over the place. So I was really low that time. And I mean,
understandably, you were barely alive.
Yeah. And I've heard stories of women who lost half a liter more of blood than I did that did not make it. So it was really mind-boggling that all of that happened to me. And especially because I thought I knew my body so well at that point, I just really never thought it could happen to me again. Like, why would it happen again? I don't even know why it happened the first time. But then for it to happen, and for it to happen so much worse that I really almost died this time, I was afraid it was going to tear my marriage apart again.
I was going to say, so now your husband is like...
I remember being in the hospital.
Absolutely
and him,
not.
Yeah. He was like... So when we got out of that, I was like, okay. Like, at first I was very down. And then I remember driving one day and feeling like I did not want to live. And then the next day I was like, okay, that's not you. You need to get ahead of this. You need to make a plan, and you need to figure out what's what. I prayed a lot, and I was just like, I want to be a mom. Like, I don't want anything more than that. Like, I don't necessarily need to be a mom in the conventional way, but like, I still need to be a mother.
I think that's important too, because a lot of times we get really confused. God will put something on our heart and we're like, why would you put this burning desire in my heart and then not fulfill it?
Correct.
And
I just knew that couldn't be, but I knew that couldn't be the end all be all for me. Like, I knew that he would not put that on me and not fulfill it. Like,
that's crazy faith, because a lot of people don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, even me, a lot of the times I'm like, this is so confusing. And then I try to make peace with the opposite scenario. Okay, I have this burning desire, but I need to make peace with the idea that maybe that's not actually what is for me in my life. But most people don't have that foresight that you had.
I had to make peace with the fact that I might not birth a child, and that a child may not come like with my genes.
Yes.
But I knew I was going to be a mother.
Yeah.
One way or another.
And knowing you so well now, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because you're just so sure. You're like, when something is like in Kiera's sight, it's happening.
Yeah. I was like, okay. So I went back to Big Daddy and I'm like, let's adopt. And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, I've heard about this IVF stuff, but it's $20,000 to $30,000. We don't have that.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I don't know. And I was like, hey.
Well, and back up, was he even open to IVF if you had all the money in the world, because it still was going to be your body again?
He was just really confused. He didn't know what he was open to.
Okay.
So we like started fighting, and then we went to go see our pastor. And he was like, you guys are fighting over something that's arbitrary. You don't even know what you need yet. You haven't talked to an IVF doctor. You don't know how much it costs exactly. You don't know what you can do and what you can do. Like, you guys need to get
the facts.
Yeah, then come back
really
together and figure out what you can provide, and how you guys can get there. So he wasn't really open to adoption, but I was open to anything. So then we found out how much IVF was, and it was really scary. My friend, Lynn from Cafe Lola, she recommended me to Dr. Cindy Duke, who is just, I trust her with my life. And she just made it all very, like, clear for me. She was just, like, very apologetic about what I had been through, like, really, like, heard
nice.
my story and, like, cared. We had been to another doctor before that who was very much, like, insinuating certain things about why I had the ectopic pregnancies that were really hurtful to me, because I don't believe them to be true. So it was really nice to find a doctor that like cared and listened to us. But we still didn't have the money, right? like
you're nice, but you're not cheap.
Yeah, we're like, okay, so it was $25,000. And like I said, we had this is when I started to see God's plan. This is when I started to see like how it all played out and why it all had to happen that way. So we found out it was $25,000. I think we had maybe like 10 to 15. We talked about financing it, but like I'm kind of
Is that an option? Like if someone's listening? Like,
it is an option. Okay. There's so many options. There's financing, there's GoFundMe, there's saving, there's jobs that have insurance that pay for it. But like as a self-employed woman, like I didn't have any of that. So it was either finance it or figure it out. And I knew that if we financed it and it did not result in a baby, that I was not going to be okay with paying that bill.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Because that would have been after you knew if it worked or not. Yeah.
So I was like, no. So one of my good friends, Karen, was like, Kiera, everyone has been on this journey with you. Let us help you. Ugh. Let me make you a GoFundMe. And I was like, I am not getting on the World Wide Web and saying that I don't have $25,000.
I would be the same way. I would be way too proud to ask for that.
I was mortified. I was like, no. And she was like, Kiera, most people don't have $25,000. I was like, are you sure? Because I think everyone does, except for me. And she was
think that like there's a stat that I think like 50% Americans don't have $1,000 in their savings account. So for anyone else that's listening, don't be too proud.
Right.
And even if you did have 25, not everyone is willing to
spend that
and then be completely broke when you do have the child. Correct. Like there's a comfort in knowing I have this cushion for my child if they need it medically when something happens.
Exactly. So I finally was like, okay. So she made the GoFundMe. And that GoFundMe was up for 2 minutes before people started donating. And I felt like all the love and joy and happiness that I had given out was coming back to me.
That I talked about earlier. That peppiness, the life you breathe into people, like the joy. Even when you're going through stuff, you are very joyful, and that like and you feed into people. Like you make people believe that they're amazing and powerful. So I'm glad that you felt that back.
I was like, wow, people are so good, and it had so many shares. It spread so far. We raised $10,000 in 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And at the end of the 3 weeks, I was at the doctor with one of my other friends who I had referred to my doctor. And I got an email. And I was skimming through the email and I was like really confused, but my doctor was right there. And I was like, I have an email from one of your clients. Like, I don't know what she's saying, but and she's like, oh, does her name start with a K? And I was like, yeah. She's like, it's a good email. And I waited until my friend's appointment was over and I went out and I read the email, and this beautiful woman, Krista, had heard our story, and she was a client of our doctor's, and she had gotten pregnant naturally when she was about to start her at her baseline appointment for her IVF, and she had around $5,000 to $6,000 worth of unused meds that were going to expire in 2 months, and she offered to give them to us for free.
Oh my gosh.
And
so to this point, you've had so many people God planted to keep you going.
It was
first the doctor.
Stranger.
Doctor who saw you and
that was a referral
you,
from my friend.
And then your friend who said, start the GoFundMe, and did it. All the people that donated, and then now this amazing woman
and her husband.
And I don't believe in coincidences. I say that all the time. Like, that's God.
I remember like making a video to tell Instagram what was happening, and just like crying, like couldn't even breathe from the tears, because like I just could not see. She didn't say, oh, I'll sell them to you for cheaper. She said, we are so moved by your story. We want you to have them. And
wow,
what they gave us exactly enough to be able to afford.
Of course it did.
Round of IVF.
Of course it did.
It was just.
Well, and that I want to pause because, like I said, there is like a divide, I feel like, in Christianity with IVF.
Yeah, the science part.
Yeah. Well, and yes, exactly. But for me, like for that many things to go right, and the exact amount you mean, I would take that as a green light from God. Because like, keep going, Kiera. I'm with you on this journey, and I would not give you the exact amount. Like, that doesn't come from the world. That comes from God.
Because not just that, like we had mistakenly shared every pregnancy. because we thought it was going to
Well,
work. So we had
you thought it was a mistake.
Correct.
It felt like a mistake every time you had to unannounce
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
But we had brought everyone along this journey with us, which was what allowed people to care so much.
Yeah.
So what we thought was a mistake, it was all a perfect plan.
This is like so minor compared to what you went through. But when I didn't pass the bar exam, I posted about it and it was taboo at the time. I don't know if people do now, but back then people just were silent when they found out they didn't pass it. You either got a post that they passed it or people just didn't speak about it. God told me that day to post about it for some reason. And the amount of people that reached out to me, and even people who passed it or had never taken the bar. It wasn't just people who also did not pass the bar. I never say fail the bar. I didn't pass it. I don't use that word.
I like that.
But I got so much love of people saying this is really refreshing. I'm really thankful. And a lot of people said, like, I don't feel alone. And I feel like God put me through that experience to recognize why he designs things to be done in community.
Absolutely.
And this topic specifically, I mean, this summer I had 4 friends over a 1-month period all going through miscarriage. And I think a lot of it is the age I'm at is like I have so many friends in trying to get pregnant. But those were not things we talked about.
No, we didn't even know they were so common.
But now people are sharing. And
it helps other people feel included.
And like you said, when you saw that GoFundMe blow up, you felt the love. It's not just to show other people they're alone. It's so you don't feel alone.
Absolutely.
Like I said, the amount of message, I didn't intend for that to happen when I posted about the bar. I just needed to get it off my chest.
Correct.
And I was bawling my eyes out when I posted it. And I posted a photo of me and my mom and I was like puffy in it. But I look back at that day now and I'm so proud of that decision I made.
And that vulnerability that you had.
Now that I'm kicking butt in my career, I'm like, I don't care that I shared my failure because it led me to this amazing. Yeah, and people appreciate it more because now when I share my successes, people
They
are
know
like,
how much you went through to get there.
and they're like, you don't just show the highlights. You are real, and we want to root for you now, which is what people felt about you. They're like, this girl has been through it.
Yeah.
And she's been transparent. She deserves our support because she does not just show up every day with full face of makeup on and smile. Like you were really real. I remember watching those Instagram stories. And again, I didn't even know you at the time. I think we had like said hi and like been in passing together. Like we knew who each other was, but it was not a thing where like you would have sat down and told me all of this. So seeing that transparency, I mean, I was rooting you on. Dream is really like the community child.
She is. She's the community baby, okay? Like she's everyone's.
So you start IVF then.
So we dive right into it and I was scared at first. I remember those needles showing up and me being like,
I would be terrified.
I was like, Big Daddy, I can't do this. And he looked at me with the most straight face and he was like, you don't have a choice. And I was like,
okay,
you're right.
All of a sudden, he's the fighter.
I was like, all right, Big Daddy, okay. So we did it and I believe that it went as well as any IVF could ever go. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
I remember like kind of holding my breath and being like, I hope every update's a good one. And then you get to the gender reveal and it's a girl. You deserved that.
Goodness. I convinced myself it was going to be a boy because we had 3 embryos, 3 girls and 1 boy, all very healthy. And I just knew it was going to be the boy. And not to say, listen, after going through all that, like, you just want a healthy child. But I wanted my girl, okay? I was like, I want something.
It's okay to admit that.
Yeah, I wanted my girl. But I was like, it's going to be the boy. So let me just, when all this.
Baby Brandon.
It's going to be a little baby Big Daddy, and I just need to be okay with that.
Okay, but she kind of is.
She is.
She looks
so
just
literally like his twin. I'm like, well, all right. So,
you're welcome, Brandon.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, it just went so well. I just couldn't even believe how beautiful it was and how easy I felt like it was.
You deserved that though, and that
yeah.
And again, like I'm gonna keep harping on this because I feel like that is those little winks from God.
Yeah,
like I got you
all
now.
Right, here you go.
Yeah, this you don't have to like fight. I'm gonna like let you enjoy this because you have worked hard.
I mean, I felt so blessed, and I still feel so.
You were
blessed.
glowing during that time.
I thought I was Beyonce. I literally thought I was Beyonce.
You are.
I was like, the pregnancy was beautiful. How we got there was beautiful. I wanted to name her Rainbow, because she's my rainbow baby.
Yeah.
But our last name is Bright, so.
Rainbow. Oh.
Yeah, everyone was like, you can't. Kiera was like, I would love it if my name was Rainbow.
Listen,
Rainbow.
I know you're happy to have a baby, but I know your personality. You're not going to have the child that gets picked on.
Yeah.
No.
They were like, she's going to change her name when she's 18. I was like, is she?
She's also in Vegas.
I know, right? It could work. I know. Big Daddy was like, yeah, you're not giving my baby a stripper name. I was like,
I was going to say, this is maybe not the time
I tried to name her Magic. He was like, what is wrong with you? No.
So you think you're Beyonce, so tell people what you named her.
So I named her Dream Ivy because there is a movie with Beyonce in it. And Jamie Foxx is singing to Beyonce. It's Dreamgirls. And he says, that's my dream. You're my dream. I needed a dream. When it all seemed to go bad, then I found you. And her middle name's Ivy, like Blue Ivy.
So today so Kiera and I tried a new gym today, and as we were pulling out of the parking lot, I noticed there was a place in the corner called Blue Ivy.
I saw it. I said Blue Ivy.
I was like, wait, does Kiera know this place exists?
I've never seen it before.
Well, it was a sign about this podcast.
I know.
So when was Dream born?
Dream was born August 4th, 2019.
My little Leo girly.
Man, everyone's like, you're having a Leo. I'm like, what's that mean? They're like, you'll see.
Okay, and we have a photo that went viral.
Oh, yeah.
Is this your first time holding her?
Yes, because I had an emergency C-section.
So, this photo is the best. If you're listening, you need to watch this episode because these photos are just too good. There's little baby Dream. And
has a little tiny little smirk on her face.
It's funny that she's smiling and you're like happy crying, but you can see all of everything you went through in that face that you're making. And I think that's why it went viral, is everyone can feel you look relieved and you look just like, I did it. Like I can breathe now.
I was literally said to my sister, I was like, she's here. Like she really made it.
Yeah.
Like all the babies that we lost. Like I knew I was going to be a mom, but I didn't know how.
And you clung to that so tight. Like I said, I didn't know all of this story, but the common theme was your faith was just so strong.
Faith of a mustard seed.
Yeah. And you kept saying, like, you knew you were going to be a mom. You didn't say, I knew I was going to be pregnant naturally. Correct. You said, I knew I was going to be a mom. And like, that was what God told you. And you were open to the other things. And that's super powerful because God doesn't tell you how. He gives you, he'll keep his promises, but the how is just going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I really just had to surrender to that.
Yeah.
And I felt like once I surrendered to that was when things started moving. That was when things started taking place. It was when I was like, all right, God.
Well, he wants you to take that burden off and give it to him. Like, he does not want you to carry that alone. And so many things, like, I hate the saying that God won't give you anything you can't handle. Absolutely, he will, because he wants you to rely on him.
Correct.
There are so many things we cannot handle. Everything in this world we can't handle on our own. He wants you to go to him and say, how do we do this together, God? And I feel like that's what you did. And then as the journey went on, he just reminded you step by step, I'm here, I'm here.
Every step of the way.
I mean, he saved your life a couple times.
Literally.
And a lot of people could say, well, then why would he ever put you in that position? But like you said, when you look back now,
the patience that I have and the joy that I have being a mother, me personally, who I know as I am as a woman, I know that I have that because of what I went through.
Right.
And I look at my baby every night without fail, and I thank God for her. I just know that, like, going through it the way that we went through, it made my marriage stronger. It made me stronger. And it just let me know, like, how much of a blessing and how much of a miracle children really are, and how much.
And the miracle of childbirth. I mean, the amount of things that your body went through to get to that point. And I love that you got to be pregnant.
Yes, I loved it. Oh,
and
goodness.
And not really worry, because you knew that it was done safely, and that. Is there a possibility of that with IVF or no? Of ectopic pregnancy?
No, because, well, not with me. Because they put it. Because I don't have any tubes anymore.
I guess you're right.
But yes, it still is possible with other women. But it's
okay.
uncommon.
So now that we're talking, I'm kind of thinking, as painful as it was, no, I don't wish this on anyone, but you getting both removed, you didn't have to worry about that anymore.
And I'm thankful that I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful that that's never going to happen to me again.
I don't think many people could find the blessing in
I
losing
am
both
very
your
thankful.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so it took the guesswork out.
Yeah.
Because up until that, I was like, is it this month I can get pregnant? Is it that month? Like how, like, you know, and my husband started to feel like he was being used to, you know, have a baby.
Yeah.
And I think that took some of the joy out of our relationship because he didn't feel like it was just special between us. It was just because we were trying to get to having a baby. But now I don't have any tubes. I know that the next time I'm pregnant, I have to do IVF, and I'm comfortable with that. I don't
And then on the flip side, you don't have to worry about
that ever happening
to you. So there is a blessing in it.
Absolutely. You just got to find it.
What during all that were some of your sources of encouragement to keep going?
Church.
Yeah. Was there anything like message wise, or did someone tell you something that stuck with you that you could just tell yourself back? Like, was there anything specific that you just knew, like, I have to keep going?
There is a song that I would listen to from Sounds of Blackness, and it's called Optimistic. And it's just like, you can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. And I would pray, and I would just be like, I know that this is meant for me. I know you are going to bless us. I know that we're going to be parents. And I listen to it probably every day of my life. I would listen to any songs about like babies that resulted in like babies being here, and I just tried to keep my energy and my encourage myself. And my best friend's like really, really, really religious too, and she's like super encouraging, and her family, like people were praying for me all the time.
Yeah, you had prayer warriors.
Oh my goodness, people were praying over my womb when they would see me. Like it's a time in my life I will never forget, because I've just never felt that much love from all over the place.
Something that was meant for good or bad was turned to good.
100%.
Yeah. What would you tell the version of you that was at the worst point in all this, knowing what you know now, what would you tell that version of Kiera in like the deepest, darkest moment?
I don't know. I feel like don't give up, and to keep your faith, because I feel like even when I get into dark moments now, I take myself back to the faith that I had during that time, and I try to extend that faith to everything that's going on in my life.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you need to believe in your marriage the way you believe that baby was going to get here.
Yeah.
And if you put that same belief in your marriage, your career, your friendships, your life, like that faith in that specific situation was so huge, you couldn't contain it. Like you said, like no one was going to keep me from that. Nothing was going to keep me from that. And I tell myself now, and I wish that I could have told myself when I was driving down the street feeling like I couldn't do it, like you have to hold on to that faith, because as small as it seems in this moment, it's going to grow, and you have to let it grow so that you can get to where you need to get to.
And that's so, like, I was just thinking about that as you're talking, so I love that you said that. There's so much that happens in the waiting periods, and it's the hardest part of being a believer and following Jesus is the waiting. But the waiting is where you, like you said, you're a more patient person now. Like you couldn't have possibly been the mom you are without that period where you had to, like, God was asking you to grow in certain areas in order to be the best mom and wife and all these things that you could be. And that's so challenging. I mean, man, especially when you have that burning desire. Yeah. Like there's things that we want in life where we're like, oh, that would be cool if God delivered that for me. But then there's things that you just feel deep in your soul.
Yeah, like
and you're
this
like,
has to happen.
And why? And you're just so confused. You're like, why would you change my heart, God, for this thing and then not deliver? But he's not going to deliver, like, as the kids say, he's not going to let you fumble the bag.
Correct.
So he's going to deliver it in the timing that you're going to be able to harbor that blessing and make the most of it and glorify him with it and all the things. Because your testimony now with this story is so much bigger than if that first pregnancy worked out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Your marriage would be different. I mean, I'm sure your husband values you in a way that he never did before. And that's no fault of his. It's just when you see the love of your life almost die, it's going to change. And what you went through to get him a daughter, I mean, I'm sure his appreciation. And there's just so many good things that, like I said, something that was intended for bad was turned to good.
I mean, I've never seen a plan in my life so perfectly laid out. Like I can look back at the separation. I can look back at each baby that we lost, the IVF, the doctor switch, the GoFundMe. Like it all was like, okay, I see why you did that move right there, because that move took me to this and this took me to that. And
you can connect the dots now. It's hard though in the moment.
It is, but like I said, I felt like I had to surrender. Once I surrendered, then I saw it as it was unfolding. Whereas before I surrendered, and when I was like playing checkers and chess with my husband, trying to buy him cars and manipulate him and things of that sort, I wasn't doing it I wasn't surrendering. I was like trying to figure out how to make it happen the way I needed it to, the way that I wanted it to, when I probably actually wasn't even ready.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly what I was saying, is it's like we think we're ready because it gets on our heart, it gets on our mind, and then it's like you look back, you're like, I would have not been ready for that.
Oh, no.
I mean, I think about when we're like 21 and we think we're ready to be married.
We're all grown up. And
I'm like, I would have been a terrible partner back there. Thank you, God, for shielding me from my own mistakes.
Yeah.
And the surrender thing, like I've been through that with, when I finally surrendered my career to God, everything started flowing. And just like you said, I can struggle still with other areas of my life, but then I'll like smack myself and be like, why would you not want to look at what he's done with that
Even
area
like
of your
their
life?
house situation.
Yeah.
Through.
Yeah. And I pushed hard to make that work, and it was not meant to. And the second I surrendered, I felt peace. And then now I look back, I'm like, holy bananas.
Yeah.
That was not supposed to happen. And
even as time continues to go, and when you do buy your house, and you'll be able to be even more like, okay, yeah, I see why I lived here at this place, or all that.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And you ask yourself, why did I wait so long to surrender this area of my life when...
Well, we like to have control.
Yeah.
To think we have control. Try to have
control.
and
we're scared of the unknown. So we're like, if I give this to you, I don't know if I'm going to get what I think I want. And I know the outcome I want. And if I give this to you, then it's like we're holding on to it so tight that we're squeezing the life out of it. And then when we finally let go, God's like, I can take this and make it better. I think of that meme, I don't know if you've seen it, where it's like Jesus and the little girl, and he's like, give me the teddy bear. And it's a small one.
And it's a big one behind his back.
And he has a big one behind his back, yeah.
Because listen, I got a big one, okay? Dream, he gave me everything I could have asked for and more. Like, we stare at her in awe.
She's so cute. The first time I ever met her, she called me like Auntie Molly.
I know.
Like, and I didn't have a niece at the time, so I felt like the greatest. My niece still can't say it, so Dream is winning.
And she just has the biggest heart.
Oh, she's a little angel.
I'm like, what did they put in that Petri dish? They actually threw some extra sauce up in there, okay? Like, yeah, she was.
I mean, it's your child. Let's be honest. We have another photo of her with all the IVF materials, and she's so little in it.
Yes, that's my little.
You posted that the other day. What made you post that? Did it just come up on your memories?
It was on my memories. Yeah, me and my photographer had shared it, and I just every time I see that photo, I'm just like,
that's one of the prettier ones I've seen. I like the flowers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, our photographer. She did all that.
Yeah.
I was just like, here's needles. Lay them around my baby. She's like, yeah, no.
Lay them around my baby.
We're gonna put some stuff around it. I'm like, oh, that's smart. That's smart. And like when I look at that picture, like it takes me back to all the shots, like. Because they don't tell you have to do a shot for 3 months after you get pregnant.
Oh, no. I did not know that.
Yeah, they don't tell you that. Well, I just told everybody.
Maybe they don't tell you because they think you might
know
not do it.
Because they know to scare you away.
Yeah.
Because if they would have told me, I would have been like, what?
Some things are better left unknown until you have to do it.
Yeah. But yeah, for 3 months, you have to do one, and every day until your body, till it's like natural. It's become natural. Your body's used to it.
What a miracle. I know people have their opinions, and I'm not going to bag anyone for their opinions, but I look at stuff like that and I'm just like, thank you, God, for solutions to age-old problems.
Correct. That's how I feel. I'm so thankful. That's the biggest blessing in my life, and I can't wait to do it again, actually. I'm a little scared, but
I hope people follow you, and then they can follow the next journey if you do it again.
I will. If I do, when we do it again, I'll share it like through the whole thing. We did keep some things to ourselves, like when we were pregnant, we waited like 9 weeks to see if
you learned.
Yeah. I was like, because I knew we were carrying people with us too.
I was gonna say, once people donate, they're invested. You're probably like, let's not go through the ups and downs of people feeling like they're entitled to. Yeah.
I said, so let's just wait it out.
I think that's smart.
It was a beautiful journey. I'm thankful for it.
So what would be, we'll close out here soon. I wish that we could keep talking forever.
It's a long story.
No, I'm so thankful for you sharing it because it's such a powerful story and such a good example of like, God hears the cries of your heart. He has not forgotten you. He's going to do this with you. And if you look for the little reminders, he will show up. But you got to be looking for it.
You got to. You have to. That's
like,
the only way.
should look for God in everything. You're not being woo-woo or too spiritual. Yeah. Like, look for God in everything.
Because that's what's going to keep you going when you see those reminders and you know.
It shows you that next step you should take. Like, just...
When you hear the sermon at church, when your friend says something powerful, when you read something in the Bible.
Lean into it. Yeah. So what would be your advice to women or couples who are feeling discouraged about their journey to have children?
My biggest advice is to have a plan. To, like, if you've been trying kind of seriously or not seriously and you haven't seen a result, go see a doctor. Like, so you can just know ideally what's going on. And then once you get a diagnosis, it can be you don't have the parts anymore, like I don't have, or it's unexplained. Then you can sit and come up with what you're willing to put your body through, what your options are for alternatives, and what route you want to go. And once you have that plan in place, stick to your faith. Read the Bible, go to church, find the things that fill your soul up so that you can stay lifted up during the hard times, because there are times where you're going to be lost emotionally, confused, especially if you're doing IVF, you're getting all the hormones. So you need those things that's going to fill your cup and keep you steadfast on like the journey ahead and the end goal.
I love that. And I love that you said plan, because I think sometimes when we do the surrender part we were talking about, you still have to act. You know, you can't just
you still have to move forward. Okay. Like, okay, Lord,
make me
drop it down. Okay. Like, no, you have to move towards your, there's a quote, and all the quotes that we never knew we were going to name our baby dream, but there's a quote that says, when you move towards your dream, the dream moves towards you.
Yes. I love that. It's an interactive process, and there's a reason it's a walk and not a sit with God.
Correct. You take a step, another step happens.
You gotta act. Okay, I have 2 more questions. One of them is just fun. What is your favorite song to spin to? Kiera loves spin.
I love cycling so much. Oh my God.
I guess it's called cycling. Sorry, I always say spin. I know that's trademarked.
I always say cycling. Everybody else says spin.
No, it's cycling. You're right. Yeah. Spin is like its own unique thing, I guess.
I know. When I think of spin, I think of like LVC.
No shade.
No shade.
No shade. Yeah.
But when I think of cycle, I think of
you're right,
the full on
the certification is usually associated with those types of spin classes. Yeah.
Like the ones where we're doing all the stuff. All the things.
We like rhythm writing, choreography. Yes. That's why I want to know your favorite song. I know you have one.
My favorite song I think to ride to is either Nice for What from Drake. Or it is. I didn't say I was good at it, but it's my favorite. Or Wildfire. I don't know the group that plays it, but it's called Wildfire. Or 17. Oh, there's so many. We can do that all day.
I know. There's so many good ones. And that, I'm sure that got you through a lot of it too.
When I was delivering Dream, I literally said, turn on my cycle playlist.
I am not shocked at all.
Turn it on now. I can't get through this.
Whatever takes you to your happy place. And at the time, your happy place was a cycle room.
Turn it on.
Last question. How can we pray for you moving forward?
Really, how you guys can pray for me is giving me the discernment to figure out when we do the next baby. That is my hardest thing. Because when you can't get pregnant naturally, again, you kind of step back in that.
Naturally you can kind of be like, well, when it happens, makes it happen.
Yeah. And when you don't have that, you can kind of find excuses to be like, well, no, it's not the time. But when is it ever really the time, right?
I know. I was thinking about that when you're talking about when Brandon was like, we don't have the money. You'll never have the money if
Correct.
Yeah.
He wants his boy, and I'm not getting any younger, so.
All right. We're going to pray for discernment and a boy.
Yes. Well, we have a boy frozen.
It is an option.
It's an option. Yes. Oh, man.
Well, thank you, Kiera.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
Thank you for letting me
I
share
know
our
that
story.
people need to hear this. Yes. And I just want to say, if anyone is listening and struggling with fertility, miscarriage, feeling discouraged, just I understand how hard that is. And I hope this has been uplifting and not super triggering.
Yeah.
But I hope that you can take Kiera's story and move forward with a sense of hope and her determination that she had, her steadfast faith. It isn't all just, quotes and fun songs and stuff. It really does move mountains when you are,
Absolutely.
when you stick where you're planted.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is absolutely where I was planted.
And it's not a fun season to be planted in. But
I'm thankful for it.
Yeah. You
Maybe
sat in it
am.
and you're a different person because of it. God
Absolutely.
refined you through it.
Sure did.
Well, thank you everyone for listening again this week. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe on whatever platform you listen on. It does help a lot for other people to see the podcast, find the podcast. My goal here is just to reach whoever it needs to reach. So that is helpful in that. If you want to follow us on Instagram, my Instagram for the podcast is Where You're Planted Podcast. Kiera's is Las Vegas Makeup Girl. Mm-hmm. She's amazing. She's hilarious. All things workout, makeup, rainbows, dream. If you want to follow the journey for her next kid, you can follow her there. You can support us on Patreon. The link to that is on our Instagram. And if you would like to sponsor an episode, you can also reach out to me on Instagram for that. I will see you guys next time. Thank you.